What even was this chapter? So completely left field, and I'm so happy that I had zero context or knowledge of what was going to happen. Chapter 68, titled Dangerous Disagreement, comes out November 16th at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you don't use coins for your FastPass, skip this video and come back in about a month, unless, you got enough free coins to get you here. I know the Omni Reader event just ended, so hopefully you snagged what is arguably the easiest coins event that Webtoons has offered. Like and subscribe for weekly Purple Hyacinth chapter reviews. And if you know me on Discord, then you know why I'm going to be super hyped for the next couple of chapters that are going to be dropped. And no, not because of the number. With the intro out of the way, let's begin. So this entire chapter, it wasn't until Kyrian said what happened last time we were here. I thought this was actually a flashback where the officers were ordered to take out Orion and Sons, with Ramsel as the one who gave the order, as that theory was floating around a lot. And before we even get into the talk of the police later with Kyrian, we can visually see the difference in the treatment from someone who is part of the established structure of the hierarchy, like the APD, compared to Kyrian, who grew up in Great Chapel, to the kids that live in this area. To Kyrian, giving these coins for the kids on his way to report his mission after the tower incident was a moment of kind of cherishing humanity, as the kids would at least get to eat well for a couple of days, while these officers, in what I assume is the 6th precinct, just treat the kids like pests and little annoyances, and they couldn't be bothered by them. It's awesome to see this visual storytelling, because when compounded with the conversation we have later, it really heightens the themes of oppression and fighting the status quo. So FNF, you guys are amazing. You really are. So my custom title for this episode is Disagreed Deterioration, as it more applies so to LizKan or Elizabeth and Dakin, as we see the different sides that they're on and probably have been for years now, since King Philip's rise to the throne. And it is all getting put to the test in these last couple of few months, right before the big bombing in February/March. This New Year's party is going to be packed with character moments if we get to see it. Lauren noticing the grime and gray that is a part of her world, even though it seemed like this would never happen on quote-unquote her watch. It's amazing to see how real-life differences in wealth are not actually exaggerated here in Ahalis, but emulated. The 11th and 6th districts are only separated by one single bridge, but the environment and atmosphere that is in this part of town is strikingly different. It's ghastly. But that's only because we witnessed the 11th through our main character's eyes, through Lauren's. She isn't going to notice the suffering economically because she's never had to. Now, this doesn't by any means negate the emotional pain and trauma that she's received from the Annandale train bombing, but others who were there potentially, Kyrian, if he was at the Annandale train bombing, they've morphed their opinions, their determinations, and ideals for their future based on the context of their upbringing. Now, Lauren's situation and how she internalized her experience is unique in the fact that she was probably one of the only ones who knew something was off and going to happen at this particular train station, but she couldn't do anything because, well, she's just a kid. And like how she's met with resistance in this story thus far, there's no way to use her ability at her work, as there isn't real, tangible proof there. Kyrian brings up some amazing points that get Lauren to notice her hypocrisy of her actions that she's done so far in the context of the story, and also make us kind of see, not really, I don't want to say outlandish, but kind of the decisions that Lauren makes while she's on the job. Lauren reflects on her experiences, like when her and William tag teamed the shoplifter, and when the 11th precinct fired at Loon as they were running on the rooftops. I wouldn't say the right to draw your weapon, but more so it's ingrained in every officer trained, probably after the train bombing, was put through this rigorous training that shaped the way that the current APD is coiled and ready to strike at a moment's notice. Because who knows if the culprit that you're engaging with is part of the Phantom Scythe. Well, I guess this so-called spy master knows, but we've never heard of this person, and we don't know exactly what information he knows. The paranoia and fear that the citizens felt when the riot instigator edged them on is also felt by the officers every single time they're on duty. Especially with Harvey's death, even the sanctuary that I'm assuming the precinct was for these officers isn't even safe. And that's kind of scary to think about, right? The extremeness of the Phantom Scythe has caused the APD to also take on more drastic and forceful measures, which is a really interesting parallel. Kind of reminds me of the old Dr. Seuss book about war and how each advancement causes either side to one-up everything. We see Lauren's crazy actions all the way back in the prologue, which, by the way, still looks badass, but we also see just how rash of a decision she made. Even Harvey, the Phantom Sight traitor, was more concerned about getting the kids in the area out of danger, while Lauren just dumb rushes. And it's so cool to see how this chapter kind of calls out all of Lauren's actions in such a not subtle way, but kind of recontextualizes all her decisions, her actions, and her motives. And oh boy, Lauren and Kyrian know about the circus. We are about to see Athena and the crew again. Now, I don't know how Athena and Lauren will interact, but boy, am I excited for it. Please, please send me any and all edits of Athena when we end up, when we get there. At the Circus Royale itself. Anyways, I'm super surprised that this might be the first time that we learn that this part of our Hollis is called the South Shore, as both Kyrian, Dakin, and Lisbeth use this term, making it seem like it has a specific reason why Grace Chapel is in the state that it's in, probably due to the history of Art Hollis. Lauren's line of, "I'm not sure of anything yet, but let's focus on the bombs for now," kind of fully solidified for me that the Phantom Sight and the Snapdragon were interlinked even more than I considered. I had been using some headcanon that they were competing groups, but this line kind of solidifies that they could have been still competing, but one definitely came from the other. And with the things I'm unsure of, man, this photographer has no life. All he does is take pictures of Lauren. At least Kyrian only has drawn 2 pieces of Lauren. I'm sure Dylan or Sandman or whoever this person is has a ton of Lauren pics. And I'm still resistant to the idea that the photographer is Dylan, but I mean, I don't know how to argue against this point at this. Like, could Dylan still be the messenger? Potentially. And yeah. And with Elizabeth's comment of Dakin's scruff, I thought it could have been him, but then, I mean, yeah, that doesn't make sense at all. Like, Dakin doesn't have white hair, and the scruff is not the same like pattern of facial hair as the photographer. The photographer annoys me a lot. It could still be Sandman, since Sandman, as their personal driver, would also call Lauren by Ren, probably. I don't know. I really don't know. The last few panels had such Loon vibes, and I could be wrong, but the OST sounds very familiar. It might have been used before when Sophism's pretty iconic split panels, where half the face is shown, was brought into the story, I think. I don't know. I mean, I listen to the music and I love it, but I can't do analysis on it. I'm not that musically oriented. But yeah, my goodness, that was amazing. A lot to dissect from this little conversation. All of what Dakin has said is exactly the same stuff that Snapdragon preached in their little social propagandas itself. Both sides have valid points, as I don't think either is wrong. Lisbeth is right to say that when you give a little, the expectations and standards for receiving will continue to grow as you budge the line and move the line continuously forward and backward. But Dakin is also right that the people won't offer more if all they do is fight to survive to the next day. When survival is the only mindset, it creates an interesting perspective on an individual as they become narrow-minded and fixated, not on the future, but the present. Dakin's grand statement about the king's eyes, with it in the with the white background and that pose, boy, that was a power play, and I love to see it. I'm sure like the eyes closed has a lot of symbolism with the deer and the kind of emblems that the royal family kind of holds, but I can't really think of anything off the top of my head right now. It seems like Lisbeth called the execution order on Snapdragon, and Dakin's schemes may be what got him aligned with the Phantom Sight. I think it's too big of a leap to say that he is a part of Phantom Sight, because I don't know if his conscience would allow him to be Ren's godfather if he was responsible for her parents' death, unless that's why he continues to be her godfather. I don't know, but boy, this was a spicy chapter. And I feel like when you get the Phantom Sight papers, like when Kieran received it from the messenger in 54, aren't you supposed to burn it or toss it away? So why would he still have those documents? So I don't remember. Maybe Dakin picked it up from someone he interrogated or something like that. I love the episode so much because I had zero expectations for it. I know that since I have this channel and I'm on Discord and social media, it's kind of impossible for me to avoid spoilers and hints, especially when Sophism streams and gets hyped over episodes. And not to say that's wrong, because she has every right to be hyped for her own webtoon and share that passion and enthusiasm with her fans. This episode definitely hit harder for me than 54 and 64. I had no idea where the story is headed, and I'm excited for it. That's all for this review, but you know, there's so much to unpack, and I barely scratched the surface with these reviews to begin with. Thank you so much for listening up to this point. As always, make sure to heart the chapter when you finish reading, and comment to be a part of the community. Like and subscribe if you enjoy this sort of stuff. My social media can be found by searching Inspirational on YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Shout out to my designer. You can find his work on Instagram at @JatinV_photography. See you all next time.